Hello, welcome to Postcards 24. This is called Beyond Long Sutton. I was going to do another one about the college, but there isn't really enough information. But what I thought I'd do is look through some books to see references to Long Sutton, and just to see, quite frankly, what's cooking. Well, here is the first of mine. I've got quite a nice collection of local histories and so forth. This is Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, and it's part of the County Book Series, which came out, I think, just after the war. Yes, 1949. So, and it's dedicated to C.B. Fry. Well, you couldn't get better than that, could you? Anyway, here is the reference to Long Sutton, which is very modest indeed. His exploits became so notorious that they gained the attention of Prince Edward, who challenged and fought him in a single combat near Long Sutton. And this is the most famous robber, Adam de Gourdon, which they have translated as Adam of Selborne, and he is a member of an old Norman family. And it was drawn to the attention of Prince Edward, who went and gave him a nosebleed. So there we are. No mention of the college, but that's fair enough. I mean, if they want to concentrate on other eras, then I think they should. I mean, you can't do everything. Now, this is a much more famous book, published originally in 1967. And still quoted and used, I'm sure. I went all the way through. And what did I find? Long Sutton, All Saints Church, early 13th century with late 13th century aisle, nave and chancel, bell turret with nave in the west bay. I can't read anymore, but just when you thought you were safe. Lord Wandsworth Agricultural College. It's 3/4 of a mile from the southeast by Sir Guy Dorber, 1915, etc. Big, symmetrical, neo-Georgian and uninspired. The farm buildings, etc., are by Sir Reginald Blomfield. That could be Bloomfield, couldn't it? Circa 1913 in T. Well, abbreviations aside, and all joking, as we aren't, that's not very inspiring to say that it's uninspired. But he is entitled to his view. So that's that. Here we have an older book. And you can't blame them not mentioning the college, because the college didn't exist when this book was published in 1904. I bought this in a little rickety old second-hand shop down by the old cinema. Long Sutton. It's actually under Sutton Long, which I think is lovely. The church, All Saints, is an interesting chancel circa 1200, and there is work of the same date in the nave, a timber bell turret rising between the two. So there you know. Now you know. The Hansel Piscina niche. Well, piscina means swimming pool, doesn't it? So it's obviously something wet. A large 13th century image niche, a 13th century chest, and pre-Reformation beer. I think that's something which you would drag a coffin along on. I'll have to check that, but I think it is. There we are. One of my favourites. This is a 6 shilling. I'm sure it wasn't 6 shillings when it came out originally. The Little Guides. And here's some sheeps. This is a book published in 1949 and is one of the famous Penguin Harmsworth Press books. Despite the fact it's very thin, it does have a little reference, which is nice. In 4 Mises, Miles, I do apologise, Miles, we come to Long Sutton, a well-sited village with a church R. This is a chancel, circa, when did all of the others tell us? 1200. Note the chapel of nave, niche for piscina and image, a 13th century chest, and pre-Reformation beer. Turn left onto the Odium Alton Road, and the thatched cottages of South Warnborough lie in the hollow between the two spurs of the hills, and there are some fine elms. Well, there was a fine thatched cottage because I used to live in it, and my father converted it. It doesn't say that, but obviously it should. There we are. I won't necessarily do a bibliography for this. It's quite a nice little book, and I think you could still get some fun out of it, if only noting what changes have taken place or what's there or what's not, really. Now, here's something of altogether different nature. Again, this is probably quite a famous book in its way. The King's England, I suppose in 1947, that would have been George VI, wouldn't it? Hampshire with the Isle of Wight by Arthur Mee. Now, Arthur Mee became quite famous. Away from the bustle of the world, fortunate is the traveller who comes this way when the fields of Saint-Foin are in the flower. I'm so sorry, I don't know what that word means, such as my dyslexia. Sainfoin. Covered acre after acre in a drift of pink reminds us of the yellow patches where the crop is mustard of Norfolk tulip fields. Whether the church is new or old, you sentinels are older is something of a puzzle, but the two yews are veterans, both hollow and beginning to feel weary of the centuries. Everywhere is a bit of Hampshire, our delightful old brick and timber cottages, farms, oast houses. You can tell he's actually been there, can't you, as opposed to just copying things out. And as charming a collection of odd-shaped gables as we remember. The village is a full share of them. Looking out of the church, through the lattice windows, is the old parsonage. Now 2 cottages. Further down the road is a little cottage, almost roofed over with creepers, shared by the walls with an ancient chapel. Really? Now that is something to look into, because no one else has mentioned that. There was a separate chapel. Best of all is the farm just beyond the church, one side of which is the Tudor England left unspoilt. On the wall of the church is still the old mass style by which the village folk could tell the time in the days before clocks. Well, if he can say that about Long Sutton, there's no mention of the college, but that's as maybe. If he can say that about Long Sutton, and another 1, 2, 3, 4 books can come up with diddly squat, and at one point insult for the college, then I begin to wonder. Thank you so much, Arthur Mee, and your book. I'll just show you it again. There it is. I think that's really good. Well, if you tuned in for some chess, you're not getting any. If you tuned in for pure Lord Wandsworth, you've had enough already, I would have thought. Thank you very much for listening, and I've blown my top. Goodbye.